Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining this special Trek Geeks live broadcast. I'm Bill Smith from Trek Geeks. I am normally joined by the lovely and talented Dan Davidson, but Dan is away doing other things, which seems unbelievable, but it's true. But it's a joy for me to be here with you tonight to introduce you to some new friends of Trek Geeks and so some great members of the Star Trek community altogether. And of course, we're talking about our friends at Science Division, who are bringing us the world's first ever interactive Tribble, which is really kind of exciting. I have mine here. He does make noise, as you will hear on occasion. And his name right now is Cecil. I may change that later, but we'll get into more stuff like that. But for now, allow me to bring on Jay and Kayleigha from Science Division. Guys, it's good to have you here. Welcome to the internet. Internet meet Science Division. Science Division meet the internet. How are you guys doing down there?
Hey, how's it going? Doing very well.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing in this time of quarantine and social distancing? Are you guys doing okay?
Yeah, we've had a lot of time to get to know the Tribbles well. I guess part of the mixed blessing of it was that because we were stuck at home, we had time to really push to get pre-orders shipped out much quicker than we probably would have been able to if we'd been working full time. So that's been good.
Yeah, it has been helpful to have a little bit of that time off. We have not really had the now we're bored kind of feeling that I think a lot of people have. We've had plenty to do along this road, but
yeah,
it's been nice to be home at least.
I can imagine. It's got to be nice, and plus you're surrounded by, soft purring Tribbles. I mean, how great is that? That's pretty awesome. We want to remind everybody that, of course, the URL information for Science Division is scrolling down to the bottom of the screen. And, of course, you can become part of the conversation by entering comments in both the Facebook and YouTube live streams. We're live on both platforms right now for those of you watching. And feel free. You got questions, you got comments, you want to talk about Tribbles, we're here to do just that. So did you guys want me to start with the sort of demo video?
I think the first thing we'd love to show that video. First of all, though, we want to say really a special thank you to the Rhode Island Science Fiction Club. We're actually doing this tonight. We were supposed to be doing a live demonstration of our Tribbles and kind of telling our story of where Tribbles came from and where our fandom came from. And unfortunately, because of COVID-19, we aren't able to do that in person. But the Trek Geeks reached out to us and offered to share their platform and have done a really great job coordinating with us to try to get this to a place where we can do kind of some semblance of that. So we want to say welcome to anyone who's here from the Rhode Island Science Fiction Club. Thank you for inviting us to present on what would have been your Star Trek night. And yeah, we'd love to start off by just kind of showing the demo video for the Tribbles.
That's great. Let me go ahead and kick that off. This is live broadcasting, so there are the perils of that on occasion. Let me bring that up and we'll start that now.
Greetings. I'm Admiral Denzel. The application you submitted to adopt a Science Division Tribble was developed by Starfleet to identify individuals with a certain desirable skill set. Advances in Federation technology have made it possible to partner with Tribble agents rescued from their home world before it was destroyed. Science Division has restricted Tribble reproduction and developed translation software for your personal access to display device or pad. If you don't have a pad on hand, you can communicate via more primitive means. Tribbles are social creatures. Yours will respond with gentle vibrations and trills when you interact. When left alone, your Tribble will continue to trill, but will do so less frequently to avoid irritating its human companion. When you use your pad to inform your Tribble that you are on duty, it will begin actively seeking disguised Klingon agents. Starfleet has authorized any means necessary to catch the Klingons. Approach targets under the guise of showing off your new pet. Tell friends and coworkers that Tribbles have favorites, and suggest playing a game to see who your Tribble likes best. Refusal to play is a dead giveaway. Starfleet is entrusting you with sensitive Federation intelligence. If you must leave data unattended, assign your Tribble to watchdog duties. Set your Tribble on top of the object that you wish to protect, and if a Klingon agent attempts to retrieve that object, your Tribble will alert you. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but practical jokers at Science Division programmed an auxiliary translation function that cues your Tribble to falsely identify your friends as Klingon agents. But do not try this with Gorns or Tellarites. Good luck, recruit. The fate of the Federation is in your hands.
Well, guys, there you have it. That's a great video. I love it. So much time and effort and work went into that. What a great amount of fun, and what a great way to demonstrate the Tribbles. My Cecil was over here purring during the entire time, so I had purring to the left of me, purring to the right of me. It was fantastic.
We have one too.
Yeah, Mr. T has been going off a little bit too.
And there are a few people out there whose Tribbles have also arrived. Kellen is holding his right now. James thanks us for the shout out to the RISFC. James, how are you? And of course, our good friend, the 24-year-old Trekkie, just recently ordered hers, so she's looking to get hers in her hands, and she can't wait to give it a try. I'm guessing the response has been great, but you guys start as Star Trek fans, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey through fandom and what it is that brought you to Star Trek?
Yeah, absolutely. So you met my father already. He's Admiral Dunzel in our video. We actually set that up and filmed it in a closet in his house, and we can kind of talk about all of that nonsense a little bit later. But I was raised as a Trek fan from birth. My dad had every Star Trek episode on a VHS tape, and we would pull the box out and grab whichever tape we were going to watch. And we took our fandom pretty far. My dad built us a recreation of the Starship Enterprise bridge. So that was actually installed in our backyard. So that is my sister and myself at various ages at the helm of the Enterprise. And it later moved into a playhouse structure with a trap door, so the aliens could like beam into the bridge and attack us, and we kept a captain's log. So Star Trek was a huge part of my childhood, and also just really informative in terms of how it was my parents expected us to treat people. I remember, I think it was the episode Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, that I realized Star Trek was about something. It wasn't just fun to watch. We finished watching it, and my dad was like, isn't it crazy that, one color on one side or one color on the other side of the face would make people treat you differently? And we were like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Why would that ever happen? And my dad was like, well, that happens to people who have different colored skin in our world. And we couldn't believe that was the case. And it was then, that for me, that was that like, oh my goodness, Star Trek is more important than just something we watch on TV. And it has kind of continued to be that thing for me throughout my life. So that was kind of where my passion for Trek really started.
It's I think a lot of people come into the franchise with that sort of similar story to some degree. I know I started fairly young. I think it was about 5 or 6. And I imagine I'm a little older than you guys, which is fine. So it's one thing to be a Star Trek fan. I think that we're speaking to an internet full of those. How do you go from being a Star Trek fan to wanting to create and produce an interactive Tribble? Because that seems like a huge leap.
Yeah, it started just as a silly kind of passion project. This Tribble right here, her name is Snowball. I actually made
put on the Tribble can.
I made Snowball when I was about 6 years old. I was a bunny for Halloween, and there was leftover faux fur. It's really shoddy 6-year-old sewing. You didn't have to show everybody that.
Nope, I did.
So I always wanted a pet Tribble. I think it was the Trouble with Tribbles was, if not the first, one of the first episodes that my dad showed to us. He had 2 daughters, and I think he just knew like if he was going to get us into Star Trek, he had to start with something cute and furry. And we loved Tribbles. And I have to admit that as an adult, going back to watch the episode, we went through in college when we started dating. Jay and I watched every episode in order to kind of bring him up to speed. And I remember getting to the Trouble with Tribbles episode and being like, oh, they're more annoying as adults than I remember. But I still kind of have this passion that as a kid, I always wanted one that was a pet. And I wanted to, I couldn't go online and find one. Jeeves didn't know where I could get one. It was still kind of an Ask Jeeves or Yahoo kind of thing on the internet. And certainly nobody local had one. And so we just kind of waited for one to come out, and we finally, I had a little bit of tinkering experience with electronics from science projects as a kid, And we kind of just went, you know what, let's see if we can make one. And Jay was on board for it. And we just kind of figured out how to build one in our living room because we wanted one.
It's kind of a day and age where you can find tutorials online to do just about anything. So you taught yourself how to code, and we went with an Arduino platform. With anyone who knows that, it's a microcontroller. You write code for it, you upload it, and then it can essentially play back commands and do different things. So it was a great way to start like a prototyping process.
Yeah.
So are either of you coders in your day job?
No, we're artists. We do lighting design for theater. We've both done a little bit of HTML coding our lighting design websites, but we wouldn't ever claim to be good at that either. That was also kind of what we picked up in school. We kind of willed this project into being. I found out that Arduino is open source and that it's C++ is the type of code that you write. So I just started getting home from work and watching internet tutorials, kind of learning how that works. Because I had done a little bit of HTML coding, I could kind of wrap my head around how the microcontroller was thinking about the code. And basically what we did was we made a list, okay, these are the things we want it to do. And actually it was my dad who was like, well, if you're gonna make a Tribble, you've gotta make it so you can set it off on your friends and make it scream whenever you want. So then of course that meant now it had to have an app so that you could do that, which added a whole another level to the whole thing. But actually, yeah, do you wanna throw up the Tribble cam?
Yeah.
The whole project basically started as a couple of boxes of random components.
We got a whole bunch of Amazon boxes that had different resistors and different components of all kinds, shapes, and sizes. We got what is called a breadboard, and essentially it's a way to prototype things. You can put components together using wires and hook it all up to power and put in buttons and switches, speakers. We have a Bluetooth module, accelerometer, so it knew when it was being moved, all that kind of stuff. And then it was essentially a giant table. Yeah, we had the photo there.
The card table.
We had a card table in the living room, and it was just from 4 feet by 4 feet, just like wires, things running everywhere, all crisscrossing.
Which was most of the size of the living room at the time.
Yeah.
The place where you had to crawl over it to get, to the couch if you wanted to do anything other than work on the Tribble. I think we started with a bunch of spreadsheets. It was like, what do we want it to do? And from there, then it was like, okay, now what components do we need to make it do those things? And then most of them came with code so you could get it started, or at least a test code. So it would be take the component and get the test code. Okay, great, that one works. Take the next component, get the test code for that. Then try to figure out how to write the code to make this component work with that component, and working our way through all of the components that way. And it was like the kind of thing that we needed vibration motors, and Jay ripped them out of an old PlayStation controller or something. Like, we were scrounging for anything we could find to make this thing work. And I think we have a video of Jay testing out one of the modes with the vibration motors.
This was the first time we were using the Bluetooth, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, we had to get the Bluetooth chip up and running.
We're having a little technical problem with that video at the moment.
Cool. We can come back to it later.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get that to play. It's the one video that I seem to be having an issue with, but it could be the user.
We can post it later. People can check it out.
Yeah.
But then it was, okay, now we've got the components working. Now we got to get the app to work. And so I actually ended up using MIT has a free app building program where everything is basically just kind of building blocks. So we wrote the most basic, nastiest, ugliest just app where it's just like send a number and that triggers a response. But it was good enough to kind of test that we could get things up and running. The final Tribble itself then was this massive array of stuff that was spread out all over the table. And so then Jay had to figure out how to get it to all fit into something semi-reasonably sized.
So we got all the components. I learned how to solder all the electronics together. So we have like an SD card reader, we have a Bluetooth, a sound modulator. This has a battery pack in it as well to actually make it sufficient on its own power.
Which you can't ship anywhere in the US.
Yeah, it has a lithium battery and it's, crazy electronic looking thing. So
yeah.
Getting it to conventions is always a little bit of fun. We converted it to the run on 9-volt for conventions.
Yeah. It doesn't last quite as long. So this is you can only have 2 of the 3 modes at a time on this, and it has all kinds of delays. It's not perfect, but it was close enough for us that we could put it into a plush body and it would be a pet Tribble. We spent a ton of time working through variations of the code and adjusting it within fractions of seconds to get all of the random number generation just right so that you could never predict what it was going to be doing, and it felt like it was alive and it wasn't just patterns. We spent a ton of time on that. And then eventually when we did then end up sending that to the manufacturer, they got spreadsheets and spreadsheets and spreadsheets with this is exactly what we want. So it's not our code that's on there because nobody wants our code to be on there. It's not professional at all.
I think the term is spaghetti code.
But all of the specifications for what it does and when all came from that work that we initially did at home and in our living room.
So from start to finish, from the time you guys started playing around with the breadboards and coding to actually having something that you could say, here's the product, how long did that take in that sort of trial and error space?
Yeah, I was going through files when I was sending videos to you, Bill, to get set up for this, and we have stuff back from 2016. So it's been in process for that long. It was never supposed to be something that went beyond our living room. It was just something we were doing for ourselves. And even before that, it was something we were just joking about with my dad. Like, wouldn't it be great if? And then it took us probably a year or 2 of that before we even really got started trying to see if we could do it. And there was a lot of trial and error involved. This is the very first Tribble body that I ever sewed, and you can probably tell I wasn't so great at cutting the fur. My mom had named this one Andy after Andy Warhol because she was like, his hair's a mess. And that's what he looks like. She's very supportive, but she's also very honest. So the next one I did a little bit better on. We named this one Jackson after...
Jackson Pollock.
Yeah, Jackson Pollock. So I said
Andy Warhol.
At Jackson. Yeah. I always do that. Just to kind of keep the artist vein, because Star Trek is always into art and literature and all of that. And that's one of the things that we love about it. This fur is horrible. It's not soft at all. It's craft store fur. We actually, when we were meeting with the manufacturer, we were like, this is what they look like. And they looked at it and they were like, that's the nastiest fur we've ever seen.
You want us to make it look like this? We're like, no, that's not actually what we want it to look like. It's just a prototype.
I have to say, it's insanely soft. I mean, when you guys said it was, the kind of soft you just won't believe, I was like, okay, yeah, sure. But yeah, this thing really is one of the softest things I've ever felt. It's really kind of amazing. What is the fur on the Tribbles now that it's not that sort of dime store craft shop stuff?
We went through a few different samples.
We had a bunch of samples.
Yeah, we kept rejecting them until they could find something better. The first sample shed crazy.
It was very soft, but like you touched it and it would explode in fur everywhere. It's like, well, this isn't gonna work.
Yeah, I emailed them and went, is this gonna get better? And they went, oh no. Great, find something else, please.
So in the end, we actually had this fur custom made for these Tribbles in this color, this length, and this texture.
Yeah, actually, we the first sample that they sent us, they're like, okay, great, your production sample is coming. And we didn't understand at all how the prototyping process works. And so this was a works like, looks like, which essentially was going to show us how the code worked on the Tribble and all of that. But we also heard what looks like is in the title of that. And we opened the box and this bright red thing came out of the box.
It was like an orange red, like on fire kind of.
It's actually a really cool color, but it wasn't at all what we were expecting.
It was a shock when it came out of the box.
Yeah, and they were just like, oh no, that's just like the length of the fur and the style of the fur. Don't worry, I'm gonna get you the right color. But yeah, I think it was just a fur that our manufacturer found from one of their subcontractors, and they went, we know we can get you soft fur, and we just kind of went through that process. We've seen a lot of really supportive comments coming up, and we just want to thank everybody for all of those.
I'm just sort of popping those up as people enter them. Clearly, a lot of people love the Tribbles. I mean, how could you not? I mean, I've been smiling the whole time sitting here because this is, intermittently purring and tribbling, for want of a better word.
We watched Star Trek with ours. We'll like put them along the back of the couch. Turn them on.
No joking. When we were figuring out the timing for how often it should purr when you weren't touching it, we went through and we watched Star Trek and put it next to us just to make sure that it wasn't so often that it was annoying and it wasn't so infrequent that you thought it had broke.
Yeah, we had to do it with the volume too. We went through the Star Trek test. We're like, is this enjoyable to watch an episode of Star Trek with? Because we knew that's what we would be doing with ours.
Well, and so people can get a sense. I mean, this is the Tribble actual size next to my head. So it's pretty giant. I mean, this thing is about ready to give birth, I think.
They won't do that. Ours will not reproduce. We've enhanced on, if you've seen the animated version of the Tribble episodes, Dr. McCoy did discover a way to keep them from reproducing, and we have enhanced that technology. But they started even bigger.
They did start bigger.
Because the Pelican box was so large that then the Tribble had to be massive. And we were like, oh, it's got to get so much smaller. And eventually, when we did get it into the hands of somebody from CBS, she went, it only has to get a little smaller because cuddling it is really fun.
Originally, we were thinking something more in this kind of world,
right,
5 inches, 4 inches across kind of thing. But, part of, through the process of, from our prototype through all of our samples and stuff, we settled on this side because you did want it to feel substantial and cuddly and something you wanted to actually hold and carry around.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, I mean, at some point you went from making Tribbles to turning this into an actual business. And that, you brought up CBS just a few moments ago. That meant you had to go see the powers that be at CBS with what looks like a giant bag of Tribbles.
Yes, that was actually really far into the process, but we did end up through this crazy chain of events we could get into in a little bit, but it's going to have tapas with one of the licensing directors for Star Trek for CBS, which is the most intimidating thing I have ever done in my entire life.
Yeah,
so I also had no idea how to order tapas. Like, I have to go and not only be presenting this Tribble and make her love it, but I also have to figure out what the heck to do. And it was delicious and amazing, and I highly recommend it. And luckily, she knew exactly. She ordered for the tables, so we lucked out.
It was great. It was great. We really didn't know what to expect. We got a phone call saying, "Hey, we should meet down in New York during the New York Toy Fair." We're in Massachusetts, so it was all right, let's get in the car, drive down, and go to dinner, and then see how this goes. But working with them has been one of the easiest parts of the whole process. They have been very supportive, helpful along the way. They want us to succeed at this. They really believe in the project. So that has been wonderful to have that.
But it was this kind of crazy winding road to even get to that meeting, because we knew like Jay and Kayleigha were never gonna get the attention of CBS. So we actually went first. There is a company that does some consulting. Basically, you could pay a very small fee and sit down. They look at your product and kind of give you advice. And they're like, this is great. You should start by looking for companies that already have a license, because getting a license will be really tricky. And we reached out to a whole bunch of companies, and most of them, very understandably, are kind of doing their own thing, or in a place, like if somebody reached out to us right now, we're definitely not in a place to be doing anything other than this, which we totally understand. But eventually we did find a company that was interested in it. And we met with them, and they were very supportive, and somebody from there loved it. And that company had never done apps before. Apps are scary.
Which we found out as well in the process.
We did. And we actually ended up very fortunately finding a great app developer who did a great job for us. But they ended up saying, you know what, it's not for us because of the app, but because that individual at that company really believed in us, he was the one that reached out to CBS and got us that meeting. So that was probably a year of the process right there. It was kind of going through a year and a half, going through all of that. Because it was last February when we finally ended up signing the paperwork, and we then had the license.
That's pretty amazing, to think that, somebody come up with a small business idea, not just to make a Tribble, but an interactive Tribble, and then an app-controlled Tribble at that. And then to approach this giant behemoth corporation that just happens to be the one that owns the intellectual property to say, here, we've got this thing for you. It had to be really an incredible validation of what you wanted to do in some sense, yes?
It was really incredible. I think
it was real after that.
Yeah.
I mean, there was, I mean, that meeting happened 3 years ago, I think, almost at this point, if not a little bit more.
Yes.
Like, it was a while ago, and there was a lot afterwards. But after that meeting, it was like, this could be a real thing. How do we make it a real thing? We've never tried to do anything like this before. But we learned every step along the way, just kind of, taking one step ahead and sometimes a step or two to the side, but
or 15, but we claw our way back. Yeah, and the thing that really struck us about working with CBS is that yes, the company is a behemoth, but anyone that we've talked to has been a member of the Star Trek team, and they all love Trek as much as we do, and they're very supportive of this. And, we've reached out all the time to say, hey, we're having trouble with this thing, and they have a response for us immediately, and that has just been, part of the process is that we've been working with people. We have individual emails and, to people who respond to us as people, and we never would have expected that. Hey, Debbie, happy birthday to your daughter.
Happy birthday.
That's
we get
awesome.
to see the comments as Bill shares them with us because we've got this little tiny screen.
Well, it's great. It's it's nice and large in cases like that. So it's really interesting to hear that feedback, because I think that people have this view of CBS as this giant sort of faceless entity that just sort of says no to things. So this is all really kind of amazing. So one of the things that sets your Tribble apart is the app, like we mentioned, and that's really kind of the coolest aspect to it, to know that you can dial up your phone at any point and put your Tribble into a different mode, or to use it to scare annoying podcast partners, for example. Was an app always part of the plan with this?
It wasn't until it was. So this is the design for it, which really is exciting for me because I actually did all of the graphic design myself for this. Which was really fun and really exciting. And there was just this moment in my life where I was like, I designed a Star Trek thing and people are going to have it on their phones. So it just kind of started as this little pixel art Tribbles. And then we're like, okay, well, what does an angry Tribble look like? Or what does a happy Tribble look like? And then it grew into this kind of LCARS TOS kind of inspired mix. Which CBS was super happy about because Tribbles are also on Deep Space Nine, so we were permitted to kind of combine some of those styles in a way that was really fun and unique. And honestly, we were kind of surprised that we got away with it. But
they actually we essentially have a backstory. I mean, there's a little snippet of it, on that first new recruit page when you open the app. But we spent a lot of time thinking about what is the story of this, when is it set, and are we going to get in trouble because of continuity? And they're like, nope, it can be its own little entity. Don't worry about it. Write whatever you want as long as it's not going to contradict, the mission of Star Trek kind of thing. And so it was a lot of fun to kind of come up with that.
Essentially, we established a Section 31 for Tribbles, in that you're partnering with your Tribble to detect Klingon agents with anti-Federation sympathies, because sometimes Klingons are our allies, and we want to recognize that. So if you have one that's in hiding, then your Tribble will help you find it. But originally it was just make a pet Tribble, but then it was my dad with the whole, how are you going to set it off on your friends? And then we kind of started thinking through all of that, and that's kind of where the app aspect of it came from. And that was also what made it different enough from other Tribbles on the market that we weren't stepping on other licensees' toes. So CBS is really great about making sure if somebody else already has a product on the market, that they're not giving a license to someone who wants to do the same thing. So ours was kind of greenlit because it had something else that it was doing that nobody else's was. And so that's why it became really important. Then we had to find an app developer. We really lucked out. The company we went with is called Petrichor. They are a bunch of really great guys. And they kind of jumped on the project and went along for the ride with us. Oh, my dad is absolutely a true Trek fan. Half the conversations that we have with each other are in either Star Trek or Ghostbusters quotes.
It's true.
Nobody else would know what we're talking about.
That's pretty awesome. And like you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, he's featured in that initial video. Debbie also comments that the video on your website is hilarious. Well, Dad is a huge part of that, and he does a fantastic job. So, so the app development took a little bit of time. You showed one of the early iterations of the app there. And I imagine that there's going to be perhaps different versions of the app going forward, perhaps. Is there thought to expand the functionality of the application to some degree, or has there really been any discussion around that?
We definitely have plans and a system set up for maintenance of the app. So as new operating systems and stuff come out, we're going to be making sure to keep everything up to date to make sure it's still up and running. The current version of the Tribbles, the way that the people who are smarter than us and actually write code had to get the code onto the Tribbles, it's a one-time flash. So the code that's on here actually can't be updated. But as we move forward, if we wanted to release Tribbles that did have new functionality with a different run way down the line after we survive this first iteration of this project, then there could be the potential to add other functionality at that point.
Well, this is all amazing. I mean, as I sit here, just this thing is still going off intermittently. I know it's obviously there. I keep wanting to just pet this thing like I have my dog at home here. I think my dog's going to get insanely jealous over time. But obviously, there are going to be a whole bunch of people who want to meet a Tribble and adopt one. With things being as uncertain as they were or as they are this year, you guys were prepping for Vegas, obviously, and really kind of the big debut of the Tribbles. What are your plans now, obviously?
We're kind of hoping to do more stuff kind of like this, where you can bring information to people online. As part of our pre-sale period, we worked on some Tribble craft kind of projects. We did things like showed people how to make funny uniforms for the Tribbles. We did how to knit your Tribble scarf. This throne pillow for a Tribble is kind of one of the projects. So we're thinking we might want to kind of play with continuing to add those things. They're on a craft tab on our website. We've also gotten a really great list of names that people have given their Tribbles, and we're kind of thinking some of them sound a little D&D campaign-like. So we thought it might be really fun to create like Tribble trading card kind of things with different D&D characters based on the names that we're getting from some people, to just kind of keep putting content out there that's fun and kind of bring the community together around that. We'll keep posting those kind of things.
Yeah.
So
mainly we're just interacting with people online has been really great. Pretty much we had no social media presence when we started this company. Pretty much we launched our Twitter and everything. Like we had the domain and everything ready to go, but we launched it when we launched our pre-sale period right before Vegas last year. And so we've been trying to grow all of our social media from zero about 9 months ago or so now. So we're just trying to find things that even if you've already purchased a Tribble, it could be fun to still follow us, see the costumes that we're putting on Tribbles and that kind of stuff.
Yes, and also 24-year-old Trekkie says she's going to cosplay with her. So we're going to have to see photos of you guys with your Tribbles too. Those are also very fun. We love seeing that stuff.
Social media seems like it's going to be pretty much a game changer for you all. It's really kind of great to see the response that you guys have seen so far since going live with the Tribbles, for want of a better word. It's at some point I'm sure we'll all congregate in convention space again, but that was part of the reason why we wanted to do a live stream with you guys, so that we could sort of bring you to the people, since cons really aren't going on right now, as opposed to the people coming to you, because this product is just so great and so fun that people should see it and people should know it's out there. In addition, well, you guys included a bunch of photos when you sent stuff to me. And this is really one of the photos that I think needs a little bit of explanation since we're talking about, social media and stuff like that. And it's probably this one.
Okay, so as we mentioned, we started with no social media presence and also no social media experience. Neither of us had a Twitter. I had a Facebook that I didn't ever use. And so it was a real learning curve to then all of a sudden be in charge of all of the social media accounts. So we went, okay, well, we need some content. So we wrote this parody for Star Trek Las Vegas that was based on the final countdown, and it was the Tribble pre-sale. And then we set up and shot a music video because Jay and I do lighting design. And so we kind of set this whole thing up, and we made this amazing video, and then we sent it in for approval to CBS, and they're like, guys, this is awesome, but we can't do a parody. And we were, this is a mannequin dressed up to be the silhouette of a Klingon for the video. And we just thought it was so funny because it's actually fairly convincing as a Klingon in the video, but the actual, what it looked like is hilarious. So we ended up going, okay, well, we can't use the lyrics that we wrote because it's too close to a parody for a song. So then we went, well, what if we use the same lyrics, but we just speak them like we're William Shatner? And we made this horribly embarrassing but really funny video that nobody understood because they didn't know that it was supposed to be a Final Countdown parody. And that was like the one thing that was posted prior to being at Star Trek Las Vegas.
That's the other video that I have here, the pre-sale video, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, we're rolling that right now. Let's start this in.
I haven't seen this in a long time.
I watched it. It's just as bad as we remember.
Science Division is headed to Vegas to demo our Tribbles. They're up for adoption, and we've got really big goals. We've got to find homes for them all. With Star Trek fans. Star Trek fans. It's the Tribble pre-sale. The Tribble pre-sale has begun. Oh my gosh, is that a Klingon?
That is awesome.
So now, if you could just imagine, the original version had this beautiful singing from our best friend Liz, who's a vocalist, who's in the video, and it was, but that's just not how it ended up.
Oh man, I need a minute. That's just amazing. Well, I just think, I mean, you'll get to do Vegas again at some point, which will be pretty awesome. Here's hoping that 2021 is going to be a huge year for you guys. Thinking about this whole project, I mean, you've talked a lot about family, and we mentioned earlier that your dad, Kayleigha, is in the video at the beginning. I mean, here he is in a closet shooting the video.
Yeah,
as Admiral Dunsel.
He built that background for himself. I actually flew to Washington State, which is where they live, to shoot this with him. And it's he actually has a model building studio now in that closet. And we moved all of that out. And I grabbed everything soft I could find in the house and just I think my mom's bathrobe is in there somewhere. Like we padded everything to make it so you couldn't, it would absorb the sound. And I would like duck in there with the phone and shoot the video. And my mom came home and was just like, this is what happens when we bring home the art school kid.
Well, and there's, it looks like, is that your mom too?
Yes, yeah, both of them were at Star Trek Las Vegas with us. They were there to help us run the booth, and that was incredible. That really just kind of became almost a family vacation because we were also working really hard. But Vegas was incredible for us. It was kind of our foray into the Star Trek community, our first experience really with we've been to other conventions, but like really delving into the community and meeting other people who are fans of Star Trek and interacting with them and being really open about our passion for it was incredible.
It was the first time we had been to Vegas. We had done the Boston.
There's one in Boston,
years
New York.
back. We did a New York convention just as guests.
Yeah.
But that was our first time at the Vegas one, which is a whole nother story.
We actually got to they invited us to do a fan panel. And I just remember being like, oh my God, I'm going to do a panel at a Star Trek convention. And it was the most magical thing ever. And we did a lot of this kind of stuff, but it was a PowerPoint, so we didn't get to demo as much stuff. If you want to check it out, that is on our website too. I think it's on the About page. You can watch 10-minute snippets from that. But I remember being at Vegas and talking to people about Star Trek and seeing that they were passionate about Star Trek and just being like, this is finally what this has been about. This right here is success. And we hope that, the business does well or whatever. But we finally felt like we had done it when we got to Las Vegas and were able to share what we had done with other Trek fans.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Vegas is a special animal in Star Trek fandom. I mean, obviously, we tend to go every year as Trek geeks. I went for years before that. I know many people who are probably seeing this Tribble have been to Vegas too, but it really kind of is the epicenter of everything Star Trek that's going on at a given time. And you really can't ever be prepared for it before you go the first time, because it's mind blowing as to how all encompassing and how huge Vegas is.
Yeah, it was incredible and uplifting and also so stressful because we were there doing a pre-sale going, we promised all of these people that these Tribbles are coming and now we absolutely have to make it happen. So it was this crazy whirlwind of emotions that I don't think I have ever experienced. Many.
It was also the first time that almost anyone had seen our Tribbles, even our prototypes or anything. At the time when we were doing all of our own work, everything was essentially under NDA kind of stuff. Immediate family knew about it and a close friend or two, but that was really it. And then being able to just show our prototypes to the fandom at large of Vegas, and getting that response and that feedback was really cool.
And then it was really fun to be fulfilling orders and being like, we met this person. We know exactly who we're shipping this to. That was really incredible too.
Yeah.
It's really kind of amazing how wonderful this fandom is when it comes to stuff like that. It's amazingly supportive, especially with new products and especially small business, which is really one of the best things about your story. So now you've got a bunch of Tribbles. You've been to Vegas, you've seen the promised land, as it were. What happens now? Where do you go from here, especially in a time where there's no cons going on?
Yeah, we are looking to start trying to find other ways to reach out and meet people, because this is kind of, that's what the project really has been about. We'll put up some details in a little bit for what we hope is the first of many Tribble Talks. We want to start trying to do some kind of nights where maybe people get together and chat about, either the Tribbles and ask us questions, or talking just about Star Trek. We've been to a couple of just online video chat kind of things that other people have hosted, and they're really fantastic. And we're certainly not trying to step on those toes, but I don't think that there can be enough discourse out there in ways. We have to find a way as fans to keep in touch. And I guess for the moment, that's what we're going to be focusing on. The cons were going to be a big push for us in terms of kind of trying to sell Tribbles. At the moment, that isn't going to be the way that things work. So instead, we just want to kind of focus on, growing our presence in the Star Trek community and getting to know more people, which really should be the ultimate goal.
Well, and that's really what it is. It's about people, especially when it comes to Star Trek fandom. And Star Trek fans are some of the most amazing people on the planet. And I can tell you from 5 years of doing a podcast and now having a podcast network on which this person down below will be appearing someday in the future.
Love that idea.
Allie does a great job with her Tribble Talk Tuesday and engaging with fandom. And I can't wait to hear Tribble Talk. I think this is going to be awesome. So you mentioned, speaking of Tribble Talk, let's go ahead and throw up the banner since we're here, if I can put it the right thing. So after this live event that we're doing on the Trek Geeks Facebook and YouTube, you guys are going to take to Skype for the first of the Tribble Talks that you mentioned, just to sort of hang out and talk Tribbles and Trek, right?
Yeah, really, we're open to talking about anything, either questions or we just thought it'd be nice to hang out with some of the people that we've seen a lot of texts from over the internet or whatever, but it'd be nice to just kind of talk and kind of get in a virtual room together and hang out.
Yeah, it kind of came from because have you been presenting in person tonight like we were supposed to be? You know, we would have had that opportunity to interact with people potentially more one-on-one at that event. So we kind of thought this is going to be a great way to demo everything, but how do we get to a point where people aren't having to type at us and they can talk to us? And so that's kind of where the idea came from, and we're hoping that that is successful and that, you know, we can continue to do them and interact with new and different people and the same people over and over again, and just kind of keep the spirit of Trek going in these times where we're all stuck at home and unfortunately not able to attend the cons.
Well, and you say stuck at home. I mean, you want to talk about stuck at home. There's some stuck at home right there. I don't know who's working harder right there, the Tribble or Jay. Do you guys want to prove or disprove that theory? I mean,
well, if you see what's on the screen, I might have just command tabbed out of watching an episode.
Yeah, I think so, I might have caught them in that instance, not getting much work done at all. I'm pretty sure the trouble with Tribbles is up there on that screen.
The term we like to use in the biz is allegedly. Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly watching.
Yeah.
The trouble with Tribbles.
That's market research.
He's upset that I told him. Yes.
Yeah.
The secret's
That's
out.
my favorite button in the app. I'm not gonna lie. The attack button in the app lets you. Actually, I guess we haven't demoed the modes of the Tribble. We should.
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do that before we.
Yeah, let's pop really quick.
Let's add the Tribble cam.
Yeah, let me see. Tribble cam. Love that name, by the way. That's so fun. Let's see.
Tribble cam is. Tribble cam went away.
Something went wrong.
I think it crashed.
If that won't work, we could always throw up the image, the banner with the different app pages, and I can kind of walk through that.
Let me do that real quick.
So the mode that Bill's Tribble is in and our Tribble is in right now is at ease, and that's the first mode that we started with. The goal of that mode was to make it really feel alive. So if you look all the way over to the right-hand side of your screen there, that's the main kind of control panel screen for the Tribble. So that top button says at ease. You can actually select which ship your Tribble is on. So you can put it on the Enterprise, you can put it on Deep Space Nine, Space Station K7, or you can put it on the Defiant. And you do that on another screen. But so in at ease, the Tribble will trill and purr every time you pick it up. If you leave it sitting, it does it randomly on its own, so it really feels like it's alive. And if it's been a while since you played with it, then it will do that less frequently. So like if you're watching Star Trek and it's sitting next to you, it's not going off all the time. And after, I think it's an hour, it will go to sleep. So you don't have to be constantly turning it off. It'll go into battery saver mode until you pick it up again. So the next mode is on duty.
So on duty means that it's actively searching for Klingon agents. So whenever you pick it up, it will decide if you're a friend or foe. So it's kind of like a
Usually figures me out. Yeah, see, it always knows. My family has been telling me for years that I would be a Klingon if I had a Star Trek race. So,
and then we have Watchdog, which is our third and final mode. Essentially, you put on something you want to protect, and then if someone tries to get at it, it will scream at them like they're Klingon. I had a former student who got a Tribble who, the first day, he decided to put it on a plate of brownies that he had left out. And he caught his family trying to eat all of his brownies, apparently. So.
Yeah, and so then the last button that's in there is my dad's contribution. It's the attack button. And so in any of the three modes, you can make it scream on command. So if you have it in at ease, it's friendly, it's getting along with everybody, you hit that big red button down at the bottom, and no matter what, it's going to scream. which was one of the things we struggled to get working all the time with our app, but our manufacturer has done a fantastic job getting that sorted out for us. So it's a lot of fun.
I think that the first time we had our prototypes, I took them into work and I passed them around everyone, all my coworkers. When I got to my boss, I turned it from Sweet and Happy Tribble to attack mode. I thought it was humorous. I'm still employed, so I guess it wasn't too bad on the internet.
For now.
For now. Yeah.
You're employed.
Well, they've got you working from home now, so
Yeah.
I don't know. They're keeping you at a distance.
That's well, and I love that you don't necessarily need the app to interact.
Yeah,
you
we wanted
certainly
to make sure that you don't have to. We didn't want it to be a requirement. We wanted it to be another way of interacting with it.
Kellen likes
Kellen, I love putting my Tribble on watchdog mode when my brother is holding him. I love that idea. Calvin Watts III, this looks like it could be a lot of fun. I'm here to tell you, man, it is a lot of fun.
We still have fun with them.
and my friend Bruce Gibson says they could make a Tribble using Jay's beard.
You know, we've posted quite a few pictures of Jay with the Tribbles, and it's not infrequently that somebody draws a correlation between the two.
Bruce also says he's going to ask for one for Father's Day because the app is awesome, and I agree with him. So, you guys clearly have a fantastic product, a great addition to Star Trek fandom to let people bring these Tribbles home. These things have been around for 50 plus years. And finally, we've got one that we can actually interact with, and I think that's really the key. My hat's off to you guys because I think this is awesome, and I think that a bunch of people are going to see this and immediately want to bring one home, and I'm glad that we could introduce you to some folks today, and hopefully this video will get a few more views as the days and weeks go on. But I wish you nothing but the greatest success with these things because I think they're fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And thank you for setting all of this up. Guys, we were going to try to pull off a live event on our own, and Bill found out, and he was like, I can help you. And we went, yes, please help us. And he's done such an amazing job communicating with us and getting this set up so that we could do this successfully and share this with all of you. So, thank you so much for that.
There's one question. Another friend of mine, Betsy. Hi, Betsy. Asks about the retail price for the Tribbles.
Yep, so they sell for $69 on our website, and then the app is a free download, and we'll continue to keep it updated and all of that. And so part of that updating, the cost of keeping that app live was rolled into the Tribble because we didn't want it to be something you had to continue to pay for. So this way you just buy the Tribble and you're good to go.
There's a little shipping. Don't want to get surprised when you go to the website. That always kind of sucks. So there's a little bit of a shipping cost as well. It's calculated depending on how far we have to beam your Tribble.
The beaming it out.
Beaming it out. And sincere thanks to our friends in Rhode Island. I'm in New Hampshire, so yay New England, for allowing us to come into your virtual homes there and to tell you a little bit about these amazing Tribbles. And thanks to you guys, Jay and Kayleigha, for letting me be a little part of it and helping you get the word out. And we want to remind everyone the URL down below. My finger here, go to bit.ly/Tribble Talk. You can talk directly with Jay and Kayleigha on Skype right after this live stream. Guys, any final thoughts?
No, we just want to thank everybody so much for coming. Again, thank you to the Trek Geeks for hosting us. This has been a blast. We've had such a great time doing this. We will also post that link on our social media pages, on our Facebook and our Twitter if you follow us there. So it's easy to just go and click on it. And probably in about 5 minutes, we'll have that up and running. Yeah, we just have to
swap over a computer and we'll be up and running ready for that.
Yeah.
That's awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Best of luck. I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon. And to everybody watching out there, we hope you all live long and prosper. And we hope you're all doing safe and staying sane and healthy during this time. So for Jay and for Kayleigha, I'm Bill Smith. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.